honestly, I have no idea why she's so obsessed with me, but it's very flattering. I could never see myself stooping down to a certain level like that. I'll only respond with positivity, class, and grace because that's me. Thank you.
What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another video. And today I'm discussing Michal Krizo. Will he ever join the IFBB Pro League, or will he stay with the IFBB Elite? We've got some news on that. Plus, he has plenty of trash talk. Roelly Winklaar back in Oxygen Gym, but which show will he do to qualify for the 2021 Mr Olympia? Nathan De Asha gets a new sponsor. Sarah Villegas, your 2020 Women's Physique Olympia, puts up 20k to try to entice Shanique Grant to make a comeback. Plus, we've got physique updates from Keone Pearson, Laureus, and Sadik Hadzovic. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to kick it off with Sarah Villegas actually offering $20,000 of her own money out of her pocket to try to get Shanique Grant to make a comeback to the Women's Physique Olympia. So here's what Sarah said in a recent post, and she put up about 4 photos of her and Shanique as they compete against each other at the 2020 Miss Olympia in Women's Physique. Now she says, "I'm all about competition," and then she puts at the Real Fitness Beauty, which is Shanique Grant on Instagram. "You bring great competition to stage. Let's give the fans something they really want. Here's something I have for you. You come back this year and face me at the 2021 Olympia, and if you win, I'll give you $20,000 cash out of my pocket." Then in brackets, "willing to put the money in escrow now with anyone you choose. But if you lose, you give me your 2019 Olympia gold medal. We're still 20 weeks out. You have plenty of time to get ready. Let's go. Hashtag turning negatives to positive. Hashtag Olympia 2021. Then she goes, "PS, this is not meant to be negative, so please keep it classy, everyone." I think this is a massive driving force for Sarah, because after last year's Olympia, she was really sort of disrespected in a lot of ways. I mean, everyone has their opinion in terms of who should have won and all that sort of stuff. And I even made my opinion heard. I thought Shanique probably had it, but they went for the harder, more conditioned look of Sarah. That's just what the judges went for. Then Shanique actually commented under there and said, "With all due respect, I have nothing more to prove to the Olympia. As much as I love competing, I'm more focused on getting my health back on top and creating a family which a majority of women's physique competitors miss out on. But I wish you all the best of luck in 2021 and so on." So a classy response there from Shanique. So it doesn't look like the challenge is going to happen in 2021, but I would love to see it happen. Would you love to see Shanique Grant come back to women's physique division? Now, when she did retire from women's physique and competing, she did obviously outline as well the reasons why. It's wanting to have a family. She's in a lot of pain as well, and I can understand why, because she holds a good amount of muscle on her physique with very, very, very small joints. So if she's in pain, wanting to have a family, you can understand why Shanique Grant actually stepped away from a stage. And Shanique copped a lot of hate from actually retiring at a very young age, and people thought it was because she actually lost the title. But I did hear that there was, rumors going around that she might actually retire before the Olympia anyway. So another interesting point is as well, now not long before this post actually went up, Shanique Grant put her own post up saying this: "Being on a cycle masks so much pain and so many injuries you don't know you have. I've been natural for about 5 months now since my last and final Olympia. Longest since I did my first pro show in 2015. And here's the truth, y'all. FTS, massage therapy, chiropractic work, cryotherapy, and even physical therapy, along with more activities than just lifting and cardio. It's probably the make it or break it when actively competing and even after. One piece of advice I'd say to anyone is listen to your body and know when to stop. Competing doesn't have to be your life." So it seems like that, Shanique's actually closed the door on actually making a comeback. She did put up a post a while ago looking like she's doing some wellness poses, and said she's focusing on wellness as part of the actual post, to put the wellness in capitals. So it sort of got a lot of people excited that she actually might make a comeback to the wellness division and compete there. Who knows, that might still happen, but for now it seems like she's focusing on a family and just getting her body healthy, which is, I think, a smart thing as well. Let's move on to our next story, and Nathan De Asha, who's competing in under 6 weeks' time. I believe it's 5 weeks actually today in the Puerto Rico Pro, which is super, super exciting. Now, he's been sponsored by Hosstile supplements, which I think is a great pickup for them because Nathan is, he's a top 7 Mr. Olympia competitor, which is, something that sort of goes overlooked now. I think he's won about 7 pro shows as well, which is super, super impressive and something that doesn't really get stated too much when you talk about Nathan De Asha, but that's a very, very impressive record. Anyone that has, even a couple of pro wins is obviously, extremely, extremely like elite standards. So Nathan De Asha is definitely one of those guys. So I'm very excited to see how Nathan does in this Puerto Rico Pro. There has been rumors, I heard that Akeem Williams might be jumping in that early. I'm not sure if that will happen or not because Akeem is looking ahead of schedule for Chicago. So maybe that's a possibility there too. And that would be a great head-to-head there. I'd love to see those two going head-to-head because Nathan's finished year 7th in the Olympia before. Akeem last year finished 6th. I think it'd definitely be a battle, and Keone would have to probably go in as the favourite, obviously, based off his last year's appearance. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How will Nathan do this year? How high can he place in the 2021 Mr. Olympia? Now, in our next story, Roelly Winklaar looks like he's back in Oxygen Gym. I believe this photo is new. I can't guarantee it. But his face is looking very, very drawn here. I wouldn't say that he looks as big as he sort of normally looks in these Oxygen Gym photos because normally we're completely blown away and shocked. But he looks fantastic. When you look at his arms, I mean, I love that separation between the delt and the bicep and the tricep. And obviously that's some of his strongest body parts. So it's always going to look freaky. It just depends how the rest of his physique is looking now. But I don't know when he's actually going to be competing because that Puerto Rico Pro is in, 5 weeks, as I mentioned. You got the Chicago Pros, you got the Tampa Pros, and all those sorts of contests for Texas Pro. And then there's the Portugal, I think, which is in 8 weeks. I believe they have open pro men's bodybuilding as well. So I don't know which show that Roelly's actually going to jump into, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing him compete in one of these smaller shows. And for some reason, sometimes that's a little bit more exciting to see if anyone can take out Roelly because he's probably going to go in as a favorite, you would assume. I think he's the highest caliber guy that's yet to qualify at this point. But then you've got tons of other really great competitors too. You've got Ian Valiers, you've got Steve Kuklos, you've got just a ton of top tier talent that still needs to qualify for that 2021 Mr. Olympia. Now, Roelly does have to qualify again because he missed the 2020 Mr. Olympia due to COVID. So he's looking for redemption. He definitely wants to come back and look amazing on stage. And he said this with the photo as well. He said, "Who's ready to see the beast again on stage? Comment down below." And then he posted this photo up a little bit ago as well. I think it's about a week ago with him and William Bonac, and I assume this is recent as well. Both obviously in sort of like an off-season situation. Roelly might be prepping there. I'm not too sure. But you can see Williams obviously probably downsized a little bit and just obviously got a little bit of fluff on, which is pretty much for standard and normal for pro competitors. I think it's cool that actually William and Roelly both have their shirt off here and posing. They don't really care that they're not in their all-time best shape or anything like that. I think that's cool. Now, Keone Pearson, obviously one of the most hyped guys going into 2021, a guy that has been dubbed as maybe a future or maybe even a this year 212 Mr. Olympia. Now, this is a recent photo update from him, and he's looking really great as expected. He always looks good. He looks like he's hardening up his physique overall. He's about 9.5 weeks out at this point, maybe slightly under that, and I think he's going to do some serious damage in Chicago. He has to go in as the favorite. But there is going to be other guys. I think everyone's saying that he's going to win the show easy, but there are some really, really good guys in the 212 at the moment. And one of those guys as well is this new guy that I've just seen, Melnikov Andrei. Now, he is 8 weeks out of the Portugal Pro, so maybe he could come over as well and actually do that same show a week or two later. And I would love to see it because this guy looks fantastic. I've never seen him before. He actually was an IFBB Elite Pro. He has won a contest over there as well, and that's pretty hard task considering Michal Krizo is actually over there as well. So I can't wait to see how this dude does. And if you guys know more about him, let me know in the comments below. But this guy is a legit 212 threat, not only in the future, but this year. He looks absolutely phenomenal. No real weaknesses that I can see in his physique from his posing video either. So very excited to see how he does this year and if he qualifies for that 2021 Mr. Olympia. In our next story, we're discussing Michal Krizo because he has come out, throwing a little bit of shade at the IFBB Pro League, throwing a little bit of shade at Nick Walker, throwing a little bit of shade at everyone. And he put up a post and he said this now is actually later deleted. So I got this off Evolution of Bodybuilding. The link is in the description below for the full article they did on this as well. He says, Lilliput bodybuilding is new trend. I don't know what Lilliput is. Come to Elite Pro when you want to see true bodybuilders. So that is fighting words. I mean, surely he knows in reality that the best bodybuilders in the world are in the IFBB Pro League, not the IFBB Elite, although they do have some good bodybuilders as well. In the comments below, a lot of hate towards Michal as well, because he has, sort of called out some guys. I saw he had a back and forth with James Hollingshead at one point. He's sort of been going at it with everyone. But I would love to see this guy in the IFBB Pro League. And until he comes over to the IFBB Pro League, it's going to sort of be this whole conversation around, how would he do in the IFBB Pros? Now, there's been a comparison as well with Nick Walker. A lot of people have done this recently, and it's really hard to say because Michal, I think, is a little bit taller than Nick, and different lighting and different shows, but they would match up really well together, I think. I think there's, Nick would probably beat him out on conditioning, in my opinion, but I think Michal definitely wouldn't be like totally overshadowed by really too many people in the Mr Olympia, apart from maybe that top 6 or top 5. But I think he's a genuine Olympia threat in the future. That's how good Michal is, but he has to obviously make the move over to the IFBB Pro League and then get in really, really nasty shape as well. Now, something I did find interesting in the comments below as well is someone said, come to IFBB Pro League, haha, Nick destroys you. And then he commented back and goes, never, and puts a little wink. So he says never, but I don't know if he means Nick would never beat him or if he means he would never come to IFBB Pro League. So, but it's very interesting actually after he made the comments about saying come to Elite Pro when you want to see true bodybuilders. The other thing I found interesting about that as well, someone else said in the comments, why delete the caption? The caption is gone. So I don't know why he deleted it. Maybe he deleted it because he does plan to come to the IFBB Pro League eventually and doesn't want us to throw that sort of shade. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Would Michal Krizo actually beat Nick Walker if they went head-to-head, just say at the Olympia this year, which obviously won't happen unless he makes a very quick transition over to the IFBB Pro League, qualifies to become a pro, then does one of these shows and qualifies for 2021 Olympia? I don't think that will happen, but you never know. How would they go head-to-head if they competed this year? Let me know in the comments below. And do you think Michal will actually come to the IFBB Pro League? Because I have heard that's his ultimate goal, but by this recent post, maybe it's actually not. Now, let's move on and discuss a few physique updates. And the first one here is Steve Laureus, classic physique superstar. He posted up this and he's looking very impressive. He looks like he's added tissue that he sort of needs to add. And I believe he did have some room to move in that classic physique class. Looking very, very impressive. And I cannot wait to see how he actually does if he does compete this year and then qualifies for the 2021 Mr. Olympia. Now, how do you think he can do? Can he ever beat Chris Bumstead? Is that on the cards for Steve Laureus, or do you think that he's just not the quality of physique of a Chris Bumstead, or at least not yet? Let me know what you think in the comments below on that. Now, would he beat Bryan Jones? So Bryan Jones placed 5th at last year's Classic Physique Olympia, another tall guy as well. Makes it easy to sort of compare them. I think actually Steve Laureus is a little bit shorter than Bryan Jones though. But seeing those tall guys next to each other, I would love to see a call out of like Steve Laureus, Bryan Jones, and Chris Bumstead, because they're just easier to compare. And seeing them stand side by side, it's a much easier comparison to see where they're actually at. Rather than seeing, Bryan Ansley stand next to a Steve Laureus, I think it's a much better comparison to see a Bryan Jones stand next to a Steve Laureus. Let me know what you think in the comments below about Steve Laureus, and do you know where he's competing this year, and if he is competing this year? Now, Sadik Hadzovic, who was a star of the men's physique division, moved on to Classic, did pretty damn well in Classic as well, so he's sort of not mastered exactly because he hasn't won an Olympia title in either, but he's got right to the top of both classes in the past. Now, he's actually making a comeback. He did mention that he's actually going to do that Athleticon show next year, but I don't know if he's actually going to do a show beforehand. Hopefully he does one this year, to be honest with you guys. Now, he posted up these photos and said, here's the update for you guys, 10 weeks into a bulking phase where we're growing like grass in summer. Feeling strong and keeping the waist small. With each passing week, I'm looking forward to stepping back on stage. So I cannot wait to see Sadik Hadzovic back in the Classic Physique class. When he interviewed with Dennis James, he did say he's going to do Classic Physique and not Men's Physique. The Men's Physique show he did do when he actually came back at the Arnold Classic was just sort of a warm-up to get himself used to, and I suppose almost like a stepping stone back to the Classic Physique. So I can't wait to see how Sadik Hadzovic does in the Classic Physique, and I think he can get back into that top 5 in the Olympia. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So before we wrap this up, I wanted to give a shout out as well, because you guys have been tagging me in heaps of bodybuilding news lately. Really appreciate it. I'm going to try to give a shout out each episode. I want to give a shout out on this one to Nick.2040, and he just put it in an @desktop bodybuilding, and it's to one of these stories as well. I believe it was on Shanique Grant, where she talks about, being natural for 5 months. So thank you so much, Nick. Much appreciated. If you guys want to be featured as well, make sure you tag me and all that sort of stuff. Comment below. I'll just feature someone every episode that's been sort of tagging me and stuff or commenting in my comments as well on YouTube. So that's it for me. If you guys like and appreciate this content, please give this video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. So for Xavier Wills, Desktop Bodybuilding, we are